All right, let's dive in. Something huge is happening in the world of finance, mostly behind the scenes. Europe is in the middle of a massive project, basically redesigning its entire financial plumbing for the digital age. And this isn't just about making payments a little faster. No, this is about the future of the euro itself, and really, Europe's place in the global economy. To really get why this is such a big deal, you have to start with a pretty blunt question. Is Europe actually losing control of its own money? I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but with all these new digital currencies and financial platforms popping up, it's become a very real fear for policymakers all across the continent. And this really gets to the heart of it. On the one hand, you have this incredible promise. New tech like distributed ledger technology, DLT, and tokenization could usher in an era of hyper-efficiency and innovation we've never seen before. But on the flip side, there's a very serious peril. There's a real risk that this new tech could actually fragment the system, open the door to a whole new level of financial crime, and maybe worst of all, lead to Europe losing its economic sovereignty to outside players. So let's dig into that first major threat, this whole challenge to sovereignty. You could almost think of it as a new kind of financial Cold War. One that's not being fought with missiles and tanks, but with algorithms and digital assets. And the main weapon of choice on this new battlefield? It's something called a stablecoin. Now, all that is a crypto token that's designed to hold a steady value because it's pegged or linked to a real-world asset. Most of the time, that's a major currency like the US dollar. Now, have a look at this. This is what's so wild. When you look at the stablecoin market today, it is completely dominated by one currency. A staggering 99% of the entire market is pegged to the US dollar. That means whenever people are using these new digital financial rails, they are almost always using a digital version of the dollar, and it's usually issued by a non-European company. So why is this a big deal? Well, Agnès Benassi-Couré from the Bank of France puts it perfectly. This isn't just some market share statistic. It creates a real danger of building a whole new financial system that runs parallel to the old one, but it's one that's totally dominated by players outside of Europe. And that could seriously weaken the European Central Bank's ability to manage the economy, threaten financial stability, and just chip away at sovereignty. It's a genuine threat to Europe's monetary independence. Okay, so you have that big external threat. But at the same time, there's a massive internal one that Europe has to deal with. A literal explosion in digital financial crime. It makes sense, right? As money gets faster, so do the criminals. And the scale of this problem is, well, it's just mind-boggling. Get this, an estimated $750 billion in illicit funds moved through Europe's financial system just last year. No, that's not a typo. We're talking about over 2% of the continent's entire GDP, all flowing into criminal enterprises. And even if you just zoom in on direct fraud losses, the numbers are still eye-watering. The EU lost over $61 billion, the UK more than $33 billion, the Nordics another $3.4 billion. These criminal networks are getting incredibly sophisticated, using the speed and the cross-border nature of the digital system to just vanish without a trace. But Europe isn't just sitting back and taking it. The fight back is on, and it's being powered by a whole new arsenal of tech weapons. We're talking about using AI to watch transactions in real time, building new systems so banks and police can share information across borders, and forming these powerful public-private partnerships to analyze huge data sets and spot criminal rings that no single bank could ever see on its own. So you've got these two huge threats, a potential loss of sovereignty and a massive spike in crime. What's the grand plan? Well, the Eurosystem has come up with a really ambitious blueprint, and it's all about construction, building the digital bridges and roads for the future of finance. And this quote from the ECB's Piero Cipollone just nails the strategy. It's not about tearing everything down and starting from scratch. It's about building a modern road, one that leads from the system we have today to the tokenized markets of tomorrow. And, this is the most important part, that road has to be built on a rock-solid foundation, central bank money. The whole plan has two key parts, and they've got these great names that nod to ancient Rome. First up is Pontes. That means bridge in Latin. This is the immediate, short-term fix. Its job is to connect all these new private DLT platforms that are popping up with the safest settlement asset there is, central bank money, to make sure everything is stable and works together right now. Then you have Appia, named after the famous Roman road. That's the long-term vision, the master blueprint for a completely integrated, European-led digital financial world. And hey, this isn't just a bunch of ideas on paper. There's a real timeline.
The groundwork was all laid in 2024 with dozens of successful trials. The pilot for that Pontes bridge, that's set to launch in the third quarter of 2026. And by 2028, we should see the full, detailed blueprint for the long-term Appia vision. It's happening.
And this brings us back to the one single, non-negotiable principle behind this whole thing. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the short-term bridge or the long-term road. At the end of the day, every transaction has to be settled in secure, stable, central bank money. Why? Because that's seen as the only way to stop the system from breaking up into a bunch of competing private money platforms and the only way to anchor the entire digital ecosystem in absolute trust.
So where's all this heading? What's the final vision? Well, this isn't something the European Central Bank or any one government can do by itself. It's got to be a shared vision, a true partnership between public institutions and private innovators.
I think this quote from Isabelle Delorme at Euroclear is just fantastic. She says, this whole shift to digital, it's not a demolition job, it's a renovation. The fundamental walls of the system, trust, scale, resilience, those aren't going anywhere. This project is about opening new windows in that old, sturdy building to let in the light of speed, transparency, and a bigger global reach. It's about making the system better, not tearing it down.
So when you boil it all down, the end goals are crystal clear. 1. Create a more integrated and competitive market inside Europe. 2. Strengthen Europe's strategic autonomy, its ability to stand on its own 2 feet in this new digital world. 3. Protect the financial stability and trust that the entire economy is built on. And 4. Reinforce the international role of the euro, making sure it stays a major global currency for decades to come. Which, of course, brings us to the final big question. The blueprint is there, the challenges are obvious, and the work has already started. But can Europe actually pull this off? Can it build a digital financial future that is innovative and open, but at the same time totally secure and stable? And maybe the most important part of all, can it build one that is truly its own? Well, that is the trillion-euro question.